Hello everyone and welcome back to another average review. It's been a while since I've made a video. Believe me, I tried to make others, but I was not happy with how those videos came out, so I kinda just scrapped them. But hey, that streak of not uploading is gonna end today, cause I'll be reviewing the Marvel Legends MCU Sam Wilson and Steve Rogers Captain America 2-pack. Starting off with the box end, we have your standard logos for the Legends line, the logos for Falcon and Winter Soldier, along with Avengers Endgame, and the names for Captain America, both Sam and Steve. On the sides of the box, we have some nice images of Sam and Steve in their Captain America uniforms. On the very top, we have this very, very nice image of Captain America's shield, exclusively in red and black. And on the back, we have those same images of Sam and Steve, along with some nice bios. Pause here if you want to read them. But hey, that's enough gawking at fancy cardboard. Let's get these pieces of plastic out of their packaging prisons and into our palms. Alright, getting both Sam and Steve out of the package, and there's a lot of good to say and a couple negatives, personally. So hey, let's talk about both with the original Cap, Steve Rogers. Now, I need to get this out of the way. This is an unbelievably accurate representation of Captain America's suit from Avengers Endgame. I mean, just look at it. All the sculpted detail, the paintwork is really good, and I mean, look at how accurate that sculpt is to Chris Evans. I mean, it's spectacular. Personally, though, I have a few problems with the MCU Captain America suits from, after, I'd say, 2013, 2014. Not that they're bad, I just have some problems with them. They're missing, a lot of red, and also they're just really dull. I mean, look at the blues and reds. That's almost a maroon. That's not what you see on an American flag, which, he's meant to represent. Still, even though I have my gripes with the costume, there is, like I said, still a lot to love. I mean, just look at the detailing on the chainmail on his shoulders and chest piece. Also, look at the nice shininess of all the buckles and the star on his chest. His boots look really nice. They're really well detailed. In fact, that, like I said, goes for everything on this figure. It's all super well sculpted. I also like how they sort of mix the classic comic design with the Ultimates helmet look with these, flat sculpted wings. I'd prefer if they'd stick out, but if you want to go realistic, I feel like this is the best route to take. I would really like to see this guy, a repaint of this guy in the more classic, red, white, and blue, with red gloves and boots. But hey, even with my, gripes with the color choices, it's still accurate, and it still looks fantastic. It's an amazing representation of a pretty darn good Captain America costume. Not great, but it's really good. In fact, I consider this figure great. But you know what's better? Why, old Uncle Sam. I don't even know if he's an actual uncle, but hey, his costume is fantastic. It is a perfect, well, near perfect, representation of Sam Wilson's comic Captain America suit. There are differences, like the gloves have more silver, and there's overall just a lot more lines and different details, since, it is an MCU suit. They're kind of known for that. But, just look at the colors on this guy, especially compared to Steve. Look at how well they pop. It just looks like the American flag, even though it's completely different and distinct from Steve's suit, which is great. All the painted and sculpt work is fantastic. He's also got the nice backpack, the one without wings, unlike the single release. We'll talk about that later. He does have some sculpting underneath. Not much, but, it's still there, and that's appreciated. And, just look at how plain cool his boots are. Just look at these things. Same goes for his gloves. He's got some really nice arm guards. But I think one of the best parts of this figure is from the waist up. The chest sculpting, just spectacular, especially the silver paint on the star and these four stripes, two on each side right here. Especially how it's different from the regular whites. But I mean, just look at that head sculpt. It's fantastic. I mean, that is shockingly accurate to how Anthony Mackie looks, especially with, his Falcon and Winter Soldier costume. In fact, the goggles are actually transparent. It's hard to see it on camera, but, the light doesn't help. Still, there are eyes painted underneath the translucent red goggles, which is an incredibly nice touch. In fact, both of these figures are just chock full of incredibly nice touches. But enough about how they look, let's see how they move. Now, both of these guys have the same general articulation structure, so for the most part, it's gonna be about range. Although they don't share the same type of articulation for the head and neck, as Sam actually has a dumbbell joint and some kind of cut in the neck, while Steve just has a disc hinge. Despite that, they get a pretty equal amount of up. Steve takes home the victory for looking down, but Sam gets tilt side to side. Although, hey, both of them do get 360-degree turning all around. I do question why there's a cut in Sam's neck, because it doesn't really do anything. It doesn't, turn or help him, look back or forth. Just kind of a bit strange. They both have shoulders that can spin around and hinge up. Steve does get a bit less raised than Sam because of his big shoulder pads, but they're pretty equivalent. They both have bicep swivel, which gives them 360-degree turning right there. No difference between them, it's just a bicep swivel. They also both have double-jointed elbows, with Sam not only having the slightly superior bend, but his elbow joints are pinless as compared to Steve's. Another area in which Sam is superior is the wrist articulation. Of course, on both figures, the wrists spin all the way around, but Sam does have the better hinging up and down compared to Steve's fists, which don't really get anything. Although I would be remiss if I didn't mention that Steve's accessory holding hand doesn't hinge up and down instead of forward and back. They both have ab crunches with pretty equal hunch forward. But in terms of arching back, yeah, Sam is the definite winner. In fact, I think he won so hard that his spine actually snapped. Granted, Steve's not doing so hot either. He just fell down and broke his vertebrae. They also both have torso swivel, which gets 360-degree rotation. Same as the bicep swivel, exact same there, since it's just moving 360 degrees. They both have ball-jointed hips. Steve gets the inferior kick forward, while Sam gets a perfect 90 degrees. But hey, at the very least, they have a pretty equal split. Speaking of equal, they've both got thigh cut articulation, which, as you guessed, gives 360-degree rotation at the thigh. They also both have double-jointed knees with a pretty equal bend, although just like with the elbows, Sam's knee joints are pinless and Steve's are pinned. But hey, Steve's got something that Sam doesn't. 360-degree boot cut rotation. They do share one last thing, though. They have the Marvel Legends ankles that can hinge backwards, forwards, pivot side to side, and here's the exact same articulation with Sam. I think overall, Sam is definitely the superior figure in terms of articulation, but Steve is no slouch either. Now, usually I'd move on to the figure comparisons, but I'd actually like to do the accessories first this time around. Let's start out with what every Captain America figure needs: shields. And this 2-pack comes with 2, one for each. Steve's is the more simple one, it's a bit more dull, still super shiny and really nice looking. Meanwhile, Sam's is much more bright, metallic, and it also has a bunch more lines. Don't know why, but it does. They also both have a slightly different method of attaching to the arms compared to other Marvel Legends cap shields, which usually just have a clip. These ones, you just take off one of the hands and then slide them on the arm. That's it. Honestly, yeah, I can see the benefits to this method compared to the clip method, because with the clips, they can pretty easily snap off and break, rendering your shields useless. Alright, here's the Captains of America with their mighty shields. Now, I would like to mention, it was a lot easier to get the shield into Cap's hands, since he has an accessory holding hand to grip the, grips of the shield. Meanwhile, Sam's, this open hand is probably your best bet for, him holding the shield, but it's still a bit loose. I would have liked if he came with, at least one accessory holding hand, like Steve. But Sam is the only one in this 2-pack to actually have alternate hands. That alternate pair of hands is the tried and true pair of fists for when Captain America gets into a little kerfuffle. For the most part, these hands are very nice, but if you look very closely, you can see that these parts of his fingers aren't actually painted. Also, some of the paint on the actual hands is a bit sloppy. Mainly on this one, though. For the rest of the figure, the paint is super clean, except on these specific hands for some reason. Nothing super major, they don't look unacceptably bad, and I assume mine is just a factory error, but hey, I still want to point things like this out. Because, the buyer should beware quality control issues. But something I don't have an issue with, alternate heads, and this 2-pack comes with an alternate head for each of the captains. They're both really, really nice unmasked head sculpts, and they really let you see how good the likeness is, especially on that Chris Evans, Steve Rogers head sculpt, even if the paint on one of the eyes does seem to be a little misplaced, although it's not super noticeable. They both look really, really nice. I am probably going to be displaying them with the masks on, though, since, I like having superheroes in their iconic looks in my displays. Alright, there's been enough delay to this section. Let's move on to the figure comparisons. Let's of course start out with the standard male and female comparisons, the Marvel Legends Renew Your Vows, Spider-Man, and Spinneret. And Renew Your Vows Spider-Man leads us nicely into the final swingsuit from Spider-Man No Way Home, along with other MCU figures, at least out of the few I own. For the only other MCU founding Avenger I have, here's the Incredible Hulk. Just like Cap, this is the version of Hulk from Avengers Endgame. For some World War II era buddies of Cap, in the comics that is, here's the Deadpool 3 Wolverine, and Namor from Black Panther 2. Unfortunately, I don't think either of these guys have met Steve in the MCU, especially with Wolverine, since, at least for now, he kinda doesn't exist in the main MCU universe. Although, it's pretty likely they'll be meeting Sam eventually. For some villains that have met Sam in the MCU, though, here's Baron Zemo from the same Falcon and the Winter Soldier show that this Cap comes from. And for the villain in Sam's new Captain America movie, here's the Marvel Legends Deluxe Red Hulk, who is definitely not our president, Thunderbolt Ross. That's all for MCU comparisons, but I would like to take out some comic comparisons that do relate to the MCU. Starting off with the leader, who is the other antagonist in Sam's new Captain America movie. This version is from the Toy Biz Face-Off line, and he came packed in with a different Incredible Hulk figure. Of course, we gotta bring out Cap's true arch-nemesis, the Red Skull. I think it would be pretty cool if Sam got a showdown with a returning Red Skull sometime in the future. And hey, despite that civil war that broke out a while back, Steve and Sam were still willing to work with Tony Stark, the invincible Iron Man, in later Avengers installments. This one is the comic version from the 80th anniversary of Marvel collection. But hey, for the comic version of the guy that caused Tony's death, here's the deluxe Infinity Gauntlet, Thanos. But hey, for some comparisons between the movie figures and their comic counterparts, here's the comic version of Steve as Captain America from the Onslaught Build-A-Figure wave. And Sam Wilson, as Falcon, granted, from the Joe Fixit Build-A-Figure wave. Now, there have been 2 releases of Sam in his Captain America suit from the comics, but I haven't been able to get my hands on either version because one was in a 3-pack, and one is a kind of hard to track down exclusive. But hey, I'm happy enough with this one even if he doesn't come with the wings. But coming full circle to another MCU Captain America, we have the SH Figuarts John Walker as Captain America. Him being here at the very end of the comparisons is definitely meant to be full circle, and totally not because I forgot I actually owned this figure. But finally, as is tradition, here's both MCU Captain Americas with Hitmonkey and Goliath. Alright, this is the part where I'm going to talk about the prices of these figures, but also different releases of both of them, because there's been re-releases of these figures. Starting off with Sam, this is actually a re-release of one from the Disney Plus Marvel wave. That one didn't come with fists or an unmasked head, but the backpack was different, and it allowed you to plug in the pieces for Sam's, Falcon wings. Since the wings were actually the Build-A-Fig for that wave. Both this and the Build-A-Figure wave version go for around $20-25, I'd say. Although, if you're looking for the version with the wings completed, that one's gonna set you back between $40 to $50, I'd say. For Cap, the price on this guy is same as Falcon, between $20 and $25. There have been a total of a whopping 3 other releases of this guy. The first one was in one of the original Endgame waves, specifically the Armored Thanos Build-A-Fig. Now, the only listings I've found for that one specifically are in box, and they go for $60. Another release of this figure was pretty soon after, the Worthy version. That one came with a battle-damaged shield and also Thor's hammer Mjolnir. That one goes for less. Not by much, though. It still goes for between $45 to $50. Of course, then there was this one, but there was also a very recent re-release of this figure with 2 alternate hands also. That one, I believe, is going on Amazon right now for between $20 to $25. So, if you just want a figure of Steve as Captain America on his own without Sam as Cap, then I'd say go with that brand new re-release. For these 2 together, though, if you want to buy the 2-pack right now, I believe on eBay and even sites like Amazon, it goes for between $40 to $45. I know I paid about $40 for it, and yeah, it's a pretty good price. 2 great figures of both live-action MCU Captain Americas that come with their respective shields, unmasked heads, and Sam also comes with a pair of alternate hands. A bit lightly packed, but in my eyes it's the bare essentials, and hey, that's all I really need. Especially since I'm not too passionate about collecting MCU figures. I just buy them whenever I want to buy them. And that was the case for these two, absolutely. In conclusion, both of these Cap figures have really accurate paint jobs and sculpt work along with pretty good articulation, and ultimately serviceable and pretty fun accessories. There are flaws that both of these Captain America figures have. I mean, Sam is like a little bit lacking in some areas, like with boot cut rotation. It's a bit annoying for him to hold his shield. And ultimately, because he's missing the wings, this figure does sort of feel a bit incomplete on its own. Cap does have a few shared issues. In some ways, his articulation is limited, and he's also lacking in accessories like alternate hands. But those problems nowhere near outweigh the positives of both these figures. Like I said, they have fun accessories, pretty good articulation, and really great sculpts and paintwork. And overall, if you're an MCU fan, or just a Captain America fan in general, I'd recommend picking these guys up. At least, if you find a good price for them, of course. I'll score Steve with an 8 out of 10. He's good, but he's not exactly as good as Sam, who I'll be giving a 9 out of 10. Still, like I said, I love both these figures. And I'm proud to have them in my very, very, very minuscule MCU collection. For all those who've stayed until the end, well, first of all, thank you. And second of all, have a great day, 'cause you deserve it. Bye-bye.